Check 1 2, mic check 1 2, test 1 2 3, check. Check 1 2, mic check 1 2. 3 4 5 6 7 8. How you doing, sir? Check 1 2. Audio booth in the back, communications. You got it good? Check 1 2. Overall, good?
My waveform is clean, but I can stop now.
well anchored. Well, I worked for a U.S. senator, actually, in my own state. And then it kind of takes trance on me, and I stayed in government. And then thought I was going to retire, but then I got suited to lead government relations. Such a great mission and for college. We had our tough times, but we show up.
Welcome, everyone. We're so happy to have you here today. We are going to kick off the celebration with our opening music provided by the Missouri National Guard 135th Army Band. That was beautiful. Thank you so much. I am Mayor Carrie Tergin, Mayor of the City of Jefferson, and it is such an honor to be able to have all of you here today to celebrate the state's bicentennial. Happy 200th birthday, Missouri! And just how wonderful that we all get to be here and celebrate this milestone together. We know how much fun it is when we get to celebrate milestones, but this is something extra special that we all get to be here at this very moment in time celebrating our bicentennial. Being the mayor of the capital city, it's so wonderful to see you all here. I'm the second woman to be elected mayor of the capital city in our almost 200-year history. Thank you. And it's very exciting. So many great things are happening here in Jefferson City and all around the state. So it's an honor to welcome you to the Capitol. I also want to say on behalf of the Bicentennial Commission, I'm the co-chair of the commission along with Senator Ron Richard. We have several commission members here. They can wave, and they've been doing a lot of work for the last few years, actually, preparing for this day, because when you turn 200, it takes a long time of planning. But I also want to say that having you here today is wonderful, and you can also view the information, and we have the rest of the year to go, so be sure to check out Missouri2021.org, and you can view the information and see what's going on. And I know something that they probably did not do 200 years ago is get a selfie with the mayor, so we're going to do a selfie here with everybody. So say cheese. So of course, that's something just fun, because when it's a 200th birthday, you're going to celebrate and enjoy it, and that's what we're going to do today. We have a fun-filled day of activities, and we are going to kick it off. So, and before we begin our festivities, I would like to invite Reverend Monsignor Robert Kurwicki, the Vicar General of the Diocese of Jefferson City, to the podium to lead us in prayer.
Good morning, everyone. I suspect the first prayer from our hearts today is, thank God for breeze. At this time, I ask you all please to rise and to bow your heads in prayer. Almighty God, ever ancient and ever new, through your voice in the scriptures, you remind us, this is the day that the Lord has made. Let us be glad and rejoice. We stand before you now, commemorating 200 years of statehood of our beloved Missouri. We honor her heroes and her heroines and express our gratitude for your countless blessings over these many decades. We recall with joy our venerable past. We now live in a gracious and unfolding present, and we look forward to a hopeful future because we are a state filled with individuals who, though diverse, are unified in our desire that this state, the Show Me State, will continue to be a leader among the states and a shining example to the nation of cooperation, compassion, and concern. And the people of Missouri say, Amen.
That was absolutely beautiful. The Star-Spangled Banner performed by the Missouri Choral Directors Association All-Star Festival Choir, Dr. Brandon Boyd, conductor. At this time, I would like to welcome Mr. Gary Kremer, Executive Director of the State Historical Society of Missouri. Welcome.
Good morning. What a great day to be a Missourian. Great day to be a historian, too. Governor Parson, Mrs. Parson, Mayor Tergin, Chief Justice Wilson, Monsignor Kurwicki, other guests on the platform, other distinguished guests here representing the state of Missouri in the legislature and the courts, my fellow Missourians. I bring you greetings from the State Historical Society of Missouri, which is headquartered in Columbia, with research centers in St. Louis, Kansas City, Raleigh, Springfield, and Cape Girardeau. 8 years ago, the Missouri General Assembly charged my organization, the State Historical Society of Missouri, with the responsibility of planning for the commemoration and celebration of our state's 200th birthday. Subsequently, Governor Parson appointed a Bicentennial of Missouri Statehood Commission to assist with the planning. I wish to thank Governor Parson for his continued support of the bicentennial effort, and also the commission chairs, Senator Ron Richard of Joplin and City of Jefferson Mayor Carrie Tergin, and all of the members of the commission for their hard work in preparing for the events associated with this bicentennial celebration. I especially want to thank Michael Sweeney, our bicentennial celebration coordinator. I see him in the back, along with his staff of Beth Pike, Morgan Dennehy, and Danielle Griego, who worked tirelessly to prepare for this week's events. It's taken us twice as long to prepare for the bicentennial as it took Missouri to become a state. I also want to thank our many sponsors for today. We've also been assisted by a number of statewide nonprofit organizations and governmental agencies who came together in what we've called a Bicentennial Alliance. I want to thank them as well. From the beginning, we resolved to make this celebration a statewide one. And I think we've succeeded in doing that. If you look at our Missouri 2021 website, you'll see that there are celebrations going on in all of Missouri's 114 counties and the city of St. Louis. 200 years ago today, on August 10th, 1821, President James Monroe signed a bill recognizing Missouri as the 24th state in the Union. My apologies to the Missourians. I say Missouri, you say Missouri. This action represented the culmination of activities and debates that had been going on for nearly 4 years. A critical issue in those debates, I'm sure you know, was whether Missouri was going to come in into the Union as a slave state or as a free state, and ultimately a compromise was reached, allowing Maine to come in as a free state and Missouri as a slave state. An enduring consequence of that compromise has been to make race relations a central theme of Missouri history for more than 200 years. A major reason that it took us so long to become a state is that we Missourians quarreled with the federal government, even threatening to secede from it before we had actually joined it. A basic source of our unhappiness with the federal government then and now was that we Missourians don't want the federal government telling us what to do. There were fewer than 70,000 people living in Missouri when we began our quest for statehood. Think about that. That's a relatively small number. You could easily fit that many people into MU's Memorial Stadium today. The largest concentration of Missourians lived, perhaps 5,000 or 6,000 lived in St. Louis. Other pockets of population existed along the Mississippi River, including in St. Genevieve, Cape Girardeau, New Madrid to the south, and Louisiana and Hannibal to the north. There were also Missourians living in the Lead Belt region of the eastern Ozarks, especially around Potosi in Washington County, and a rapidly growing group along the Missouri River in the central part of the state, extending westward along the so-called Boonslick Trail, whose major town was Franklin in Howard County. In fact, Howard County was the fastest growing county in the entire United States in the years leading up to Missouri statehood. What brought these people here? Faith and hope, mostly. The prospect of a life better than the one they were living east of the Mississippi River or in Europe. Most immigrants coming to Missouri at this time were farmers, lured to the region by the prospect of rich farmland that they could easily acquire on credit. They saw Missouri as a place of promise. An early traveler to Missouri in the years just before statehood expressed it this way, quote, "This is probably the easiest unsettled country in the world to commence farming in," end quote. U.S. Senator Thomas Hart Benton noted that those who owned their own land and cultivated the soil were, quote, "the chosen of God, and their occupation the most fruitful in the production of good patriots and good Christians," end quote. The pioneers' lives were hard and harsh. The dangers they faced were great, but they persisted. They stuck it out. And they laid the groundwork for the lives we live today. They endured through wars and pandemics, floods and depressions, creating a society that would not only sustain themselves, but also us. We owe them a great deal. The world we have inherited from them is complex. Over the course of the past 2 centuries, we have become a complicated, diverse, interesting people numbering more than 6 million, living in a complex, heterogeneous, intriguing place. Our borders encompass St. Louis, the westernmost eastern city in the United States, and Kansas City, the easternmost western city. We have the Queen City of the Ozarks, Springfield, which is one of the most conservative cities in the Midwest, and Columbia, which is one of the most liberal. We have some of the richest agricultural land in the world in the swamp east Mississippi River Delta, and some of the poorest in the Missouri Ozarks. A drive from Caruthersville to Tarkio or Cassville to Cahokia can make you feel like you've crossed multiple topographic, cultural, and even linguistic boundaries. Our complexity includes the fact that there still remain among us some 27,000 people who are descendants of the original indigenous peoples who were here long before there was a Missouri. It's worth remembering that when the French sold the Louisiana Purchase to America in 1803, they were selling us land they didn't own. It belonged to the indigenous peoples who lived here. Likewise, we should remember that our citizenry today includes the descendants of more than 100,000 enslaved people whose forced labor helped to build a state and nation in which at one time they were regarded as property rather than as people. Our diversity is one of our greatest strengths, and it has allowed us to produce an amazing assortment of eclectic brilliance manifested in the lives of people as accomplished and as different as Chuck Berry and Dale Carnegie, Lenore Sullivan and Phyllis Schlafly, Rush Limbaugh III and Walter Cronkite, George Washington Carver and Harry Truman, Maya Angelou and Betty Grable. The famous Missouri artist Thomas Hart Benton, a distant relative of his namesake, the senator, once remarked, and I'm quoting, "I like the men and women who make the real Missouri. I get along with them." I feel the same way. The state and its people sometimes confuse and confound me, even on occasion annoy and aggravate me, but I've never not loved it and them. Missouri is my home. It always has been. It always will be. 7 generations of my family have lived here. Most of us have died or will die here. Missouri and its people belong to me, and I to them. So today I say simply, happy birthday, Missouri. May you continue to be a place of promise, and may our third century of statehood be the time in which that promise is fulfilled. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Kremer. That was a wonderful history and so intriguing. And at this time, we will hold a stamp dedication with Mr. Peter Pastre, Vice President, Government Relations and Public Policy, United States Postal Service.
Thank you. We'll do that in a minute, yeah. Good morning, everyone. What a privilege to be included in this great party. I think it's appropriate that the Show Up agency is here to help celebrate the Show Me State's birthday, and we are a little bit older, 246 years, so it's also fitting, I think, we help you welcome into the 200-year mark. So we're really privileged to be here, and I think the wind might help you conspire to take my speech away, so this will be shorter than it might have been. So before we did come bearing gifts. Not everyone can say that, so we're pleased to be able to do that in just a minute. But the Postal Service's commemorative stamp program honors the best of America's heritage, heroes, and history, and it reflects the diverse people and experiences that have shaped our nation. And this is certainly true with our Missouri Statehood Forever stamp, celebrating the bicentennial of the Show Me State. The history of Missouri is closely linked to the history of the Postal Service. As settlers moved westward, and you guys all know this, they needed a secure, reliable way to exchange information and deliver correspondence. This led to the expansion of post offices and post roads, which strengthened our democracy by fostering the flow of ideas and increasing access to a free press. And here we are, this gorgeous symbol of democracy right here. Wow, what a day. The critical mission of binding the nation together, that's what we do, was especially important for less densely populated states like Missouri. And the Postal Service has performed this pivotal role since the beginning. In fact, post offices were established in Missouri more than a dozen years before statehood in 1804. There's some evidence of that right across the street there. One of the most legendary chapters of postal history was also written partly in Missouri. From 1860 to 1861, the Pony Express carried mail between St. Louis, Missouri, the westernmost point reached by rail at the time, and Sacramento, California in just 10 days, cutting the regular transit time by more than half. During its final 4 months, the Pony Express operated under contract as a U.S. mail route. Jason, did you manage that, our local postmaster? That would be a challenge. Today, we're proud of our role in the e-commerce economy, as the Postal Service is the only shipper that delivers to every home and business in the country. Think about that, 161 million addresses 6 days a week. No one else can make that claim. Missouri is a great example of our ability to connect cities and rural areas to support commerce and communication. And now to the stamp itself. The art features a photograph of the Bollinger Mill State Historic Site. And let me just say in my defense, I've heard 4 pronunciations of Bollinger Mill, so you can choose your favorite. It shows the multi-story mill, the stamp does, which dates to the Civil War period, as well as the Burfordville Covered Bridge, Missouri's oldest and one of just 4 remaining covered bridges in the state. The stamp was designed by art director Greg Breeding, and the photo was taken by noted landscape photographer Charles Gurchie, who began his career in Missouri. You'll note the words forever and USA as well. It means the stamp will always be equal in value to the current first-class mail 1-ounce price. No more looking for that 1-cent stamp anymore, right? So it will always be perfect for mailing your letters and packages to recipients in Missouri and across the country. The Missouri Statehood stamp is available now, this is when I become the salesman, at USPS.com and post offices across the country. After our ceremony, you can buy it and other philatelic items, fancy word for stamp stuff, at the post office behind you, across the street from the Capitol. At this time, I invite our distinguished guests, I guess the the governor, to join me for the official dedication of the Missouri Statehood Forever stamp.
Thank you, Mr. Pastre and the United States Postal Service. I know this Missouri stamp has been so anticipated. We just can't wait until after the ceremony to be able to get it or online. How exciting. And at this time, we'll have another choral performance with the songs Joy, We Shall Overcome, Hard Times Come Again No More, and Lift Every Voice and Sing.
Can you sing it with us?
We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. Deep in my heart.
Just absolutely beautiful. Missouri Choral Directors Association All-Star Festival Choir. Dr. Brandon Boyd and Dr. Jennaya Robinson, conductors. Absolutely beautiful. Thank you, each and every one of you, for celebrating your gift of song. The arts have been so important to our bicentennial celebration, celebrating with song, with music, with art. Hopefully you had a chance to paint on the bicentennial mural, which was the world record for the most people that painted on a mural. So celebrating arts is so important in this celebration year. Now I'd like to welcome the Honorable Paul C. Wilson, Chief Justice, Supreme Court of Missouri.
Thank you, Mayor Tergin. I'm sorry, I gotta say again, wow. Thank you so much. What an incredible blessing on a beautiful morning. To Governor Parson, the First Lady, to all of our distinguished guests, I say good morning. But to the people of the state of Missouri, let me add my voice to say happy birthday. 50 years ago today, I stood in this exact spot. Oh, well, that's not exactly true. I wasn't standing here. I was standing about where you are right now. But I was here 50 years ago, and my dad was by my side. Throughout my childhood, when I was with my dad in a crowd, I would hold on to his hand. But there was a time when I was too little to take his whole hand. So I would wrap my fist tightly around his little finger. I remember this so clearly, I could still feel it. Then what seemed like only minutes later, I was walking with my wife Laura through crowds, and our children were holding on to my little finger. As they got older, they held my hand, and now that they're adults, they hold my heart. So when I thought about the incredible opportunity that speaking to you today would be, and when I thought about what I would or should say, that's what came to me. These memories of standing next to my dad, and my kids standing next to Laura and me. Because today is about history, and that's really all my history is. Anything farther back than that is just a story, and anything from this moment forward, merely a vague promise. But that's not what history is for us as a city, or a state, or even a nation. Our history is more than just my personal stories or yours. Instead, collectively, we can see that the parade of generations stretches so much farther back, and that our hopes and dreams stretch so much farther forward than for any of us individually. And as I think about all that Missouri history includes, and all that our history means, I'm proud, not always of what happened or why, because Missouri and Missourians have had our share of shortcomings. But I am proud that our history is what we made it, together. There have been times that showed the best of who we are, and other times that showed the worst we can be. At the beginning of our history together, tens of thousands of Missourians were owned by other Missourians. Women could not vote or own property as men did. We forcibly removed the Mormons from Jackson County and the Native Americans from across the state. But Missourians also fought for each other and rescued each other from countless tornadoes, floods, and other disasters. We pulled together when times were hard, as recessions and depressions came and went. We fought to free enslaved peoples and to protect the defenseless around the world in hundreds of places whose names we can never forget, like Shiloh, Belleau Wood, Iwo Jima, Pyongyang, Fallujah. And we fought in thousands of other places whose names few, if any of us, can remember, though we should. We did those things because we are a good people. We've shown more often than we've blushed. We've been a force for light more often than we've been the cause of darkness. When times are tough and a fight needs fighting, we stand together as one. And you know why? Because we are one. And when things are tough, we don't have the time or energy to spare to try and convince ourselves otherwise. The divisions we devote so much of our time and energy to in good times aren't real. Left, right, black, white, immigrant, and those whose ancestors are immigrants. Those divisions are illusory. They're something we construct, but only when we have the time and energy to spare, only in good times. When times are tough, we are one. We stand as one, we work as one, and we prevail as one. You see, history isn't a scoreboard, a summing up of the good and the bad. Our history is what it is. What happened, happened. It's what got us here, and here is where we have to be if we want to move forward. What matters to me is that we did what we did, for better or worse, together, as one people. Even when we didn't believe we were one people, we were, and we are, and we always will be. Making someone move to the back of the bus is a lot of things, including unforgivably mean. But it's also stupid, because we are all going to the same stop, and we're all going to arrive there together at the exact same time. My parents named me for St. Paul, the curmudgeon of the New Testament. And my colleagues might tell you, if I weren't here, that I've maybe taken on a few of those curmudgeonly traits. But St. Paul wrote, "The eye cannot say to the hand, 'I have no need of thee,' nor again the head to the feet, 'I have no need of you,' because God hath tempered the body together." I believe the same is true for those of us who call Missouri home. There is no tomorrow for any of us that is not the tomorrow for all of us. To paraphrase St. Paul, no one of us can make a difference unless we all make a difference. So as we stand here today reflecting on history, thinking about our personal families, holding their hands or little fingers to link the generations, we must also think about our larger family and remind ourselves that it took all of us, every single Missourian for the last 200 years, to make us who we are and to bring us to this day. And when you look around this crowd today, and you think of the 6 million Missourians that we all represent, and the millions that came before us, understand, not only did it take each and every one of us to bring Missouri to where it is today, right now, but it will take all of us to move Missouri into the future, our future, together. A future that will be as bright as we make it together. Then, 50 years from today, maybe one of the young people in the audience this morning will be standing where I'm standing, holding the daunting title that I've been given, and telling the world how well the people of Missouri, a good people, have done. I hope so. For no matter what our history holds, no matter how high our highs or low our lows, Missouri's best days lie ahead. And as long as we move forward together, they always will. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Paul Wilson, for that unifying message. And now the Missouri Waltz, performed by the Missouri National Guard 135th Army Band. Thank you so much. Just beautiful. The Missouri National Guard 135th Army Band. And let's take a moment to also remember all those who serve our great country. Thank you so much. At this time, we'll have a poem by Mary Frances Wagner, Missouri Poet Laureate.
Move this down just a little, I'm a shorty. I'm happy to be here today with you to serve as Missouri's 6th Poet Laureate. I have lived in Missouri my entire life, and my favorite thing about Missouri is its nature. I walk outside every day, so I am lucky to be able to watch the seasons change and enjoy each season's gifts. So the poem that I have written for Missouri is about nature, and it tries to take you through all 4 seasons. Missouri. Little blue trace, still as glass all winter, breaks its silence to eel around its curves. Sunlight spangles the surface like a flash of minnows. May apples open their umbrellas and shade trillium. The hunt is on for morels hidden under the elms. A bluebird skims below a heron flapping to its rookery. The chorus frogs cree and trill. I stretch my arms to the cave state, start of the Pony Express, rolling hills and river bluffs, prairie and plateau, earth solid beneath my feet. Summer brings the thump of June bugs and June bugs on lights, honeybees, and the hornworm emerges as a sphinx moth. By July, we wipe sweat from our necks and bite into sweet corn and catfish, the plumpest big boys and juicy red havens. Pawpaws and persimmons slip from their trees in thuds until katydids cease their churning and chill scatters us like the red and yellow leaves backlit in the last October light. Frost returns to scrim our windows and silence the little blue trace again. We watch snow erase former impressions. By morning, the reverse braille of bird tracks will leave us runic messages. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Wagner, for sharing your beautiful gift of poetry with us today. And now it is my honor to welcome, for the official commemoration and proclamation of the Missouri Bicentennial, the Honorable Michael L. Parson, 57th Governor of Missouri.
Thank you. Wow, thanks everybody. Thank you, thank you. Please be seated, please be seated. Before I get started with remarks, I want to ask a couple of people to come up here real quick, because I think of all the things that will be said today, the 2 people that's already spoke before me said the most 2 powerful things, I believe, today. And the Chief Justice did a great job articulating who we were, where we've been, and where we're going. And I don't want to take anything away from that. But the young man Yeah, the young man that was singing "We Shall Overcome." See here? Come on up here with me. All right, the other gentleman that said a word that we need to remember that I'm going to tell you. Father, would you please come up here just a minute, please? Now, you can clap for him. You didn't clap for him a while ago because we don't know what to do.
I promise not to sing.
You know, it's always one of the things when a pastor comes up, a father comes up, he tries, do I clap, do I not clap, what do I do? This guy's been praying over this legislative body since I first come up here. He's did a pretty good job most of the time. But he's still got job security because he's got a lot of work to do yet, so I'll just tell you that. But when he was up here and he was speaking, he said, "Today is the day the Lord made." I think that is one of the most inspiration things I've heard today. Not only is it today, he's been doing it for 200 years, day in and day out. So, Father, I want to thank you for saying those words
Thank
to
you,
us
Governor.
today
Thank you
on
very
that.
much.
And young man, stay right here. No, you stay right here. Man, I'm going to hire you. You're where my staff is. You did exactly what I said on that. Let me just say this. When you was up there singing "We Shall Overcome," it made me think of all the trials that we've had in Missouri's history, of all the things. And I hear a young man like you singing that to everyone out there. It's not the first time we've been through tough times in our state's history. You heard the Chief Justice. But when I hear somebody like you singing that, I felt like that was coming from your heart just as much as your voice. And I want to thank you for telling us all, sending us a message today. Whatever the challenge are, we're going to overcome because we live in one of the greatest states in the United States. Thank you so much for what you do. Thank you. Thank you both. Thank you.
Thanks again, Governor.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Well, so there's lots of dignitaries here, so let me get this out of the way right off the bat. You got Supreme Court judges are here, you've got generals that are here, you've got every statewide elected official here at one time, you've got congressmen, men and women, you've got legislators here, and you've got one very special lady here also. So let me start with her. Please welcome the First Lady of the great state of Missouri, Teresa Parson. Now to the dignitaries. For the ones that are standing outside of these ropes, the people I really call real Missourians, the lady that's wearing a visor with the St. Louis Cardinal logo on it, gentleman out there wearing a t-shirt that's got the flag of the United States of America on it, the gentleman wearing a Kansas City Chiefs shirt, a veteran out there has got his veterans ball cap on, I've seen out there. A little girl about 4 or 5 years old, I seen walk across with a red, white, and blue little dress on today. The young kids that are here today, those are the true dignitaries of who this state is and what we stand for in this state. I want to thank Mayor Tergin. Always great to have you for a mayor here in Jeff City for the job you're doing. I want to thank you. Father Kurwicki, keep the faith. Keep the faith. Keep working hard. Keep working hard. That's all I got to say. Gary Kremer, what a great presentation. Thanks for what you do for the history of this state. Thank you on that. Mr. Pastre from Washington, D.C., thank you for coming in today, being part of this ceremony, making this a special day. And they've already conned me. No, I won't say con. That's not the right word. That's not politically correct. I'm going over to buy a stamp, and they wanted to know if I had money to buy the stamp. So, yes, I do. So I'm going to go pay for my stamp. Chief Justice, great job today. And Mary, I don't know where Mary went to, but great job being a poet, talking about Missouri for that, and everybody else that's here. You know, nobody's more humble to stand up in front of you today on our 200th birthday than what I am. Coming from where I come from, all the trials that I've had in my family's life, your family lives, I feel like I'm as close to the roots of Missourians every day. When I served 2 tours of duty overseas and I come back to Missouri and I step foot on the tarmac, I said I would never leave this state again because I love the people of this state and I love the values of this state. And I think it's what makes us so special. No matter whether you live in a big city, whether you live in the country, everything within the border of Missouri is what makes us who we are. And I've had the opportunity over the last week or two to be traveling around the state as the Bicentennial Tour, we call it. And you think of names that have been mentioned before that's part of our state's history: President Truman, George Washington Carver, General John Pershing, the highest ranking military officer ever in our country, come from Missouri. Come from Walt Disney, Mark Twain, the Hubble telescope, what it's done for the aerospace industry. Daniel Boone, for what his part was to play in Missouri. Ulysses S. Grant, the President of the United States, where he met his wife here in Missouri and got married at Whitehaven on that. And you think of all the history of who we are and what we've been made of. I tell you, the Bicentennial is a great time for all of us to reflect a little bit. We get to celebrate 200 years. Nobody else gets to do that. We do today. The state of Missouri does. Missouri citizens get to be part of this very special day, and there's only going to be one of these days, and we get to be part of it. I encourage all of you to take a little time today, think about your own family. Think about where you came from, your family history, your family tree, and find out what you've overcame in Missouri and why we're so privileged to be Missourians and why it's an honor to be a fellow Missourian with all of you that are here today and to celebrate a birthday like no other, 200 years of birthday. Now, everybody knows what our state motto is, the Show Me State, right? You all understand the Show Me State? This is really going to you guys out here sitting in the sun, the Show Me State, because all of those people back there in those shade trees, those are the real Show Me State people. They know where the shade is. They know what common sense is all about. So on the back row, congratulations, Show Me State. And for all of us up here sweating our brows off, that's why they put speakers out in the sun so they won't talk as long on that. But it's an honor and privilege to be here, to be a fellow Missourian, something I cherish and I love being able to get to do what I get to a short period of time. For the dignitaries I mentioned, and for me as governor, our window of opportunity of a title will go past in a blink of an eye. The true dignitaries are the everyday Missourians that go to work every day, raise their families, go to church, live a good life, are good neighbors, are people with good values, and they spread those values down to the next generations. I tell you, it is our time. It is our time to make sure the pleasures that we get to live with today in this great state, it is our job to pass down to the next generations, to make sure they get to enjoy basic things like freedom, that they understand what the Constitution really means, that's been handed down from generation to generation, what the Declaration of Independence, the Bill of Rights, that has overcome time and time and time again and has stood all storms towards it. It is our time. It is our time to pass that down to the next generations. So, whereas the year 2021 marks the 200th anniversary of Missouri Statehood and a collective hope that future Missourians will learn from its past and chart a dynamic and unified course for the future. Now, therefore, I, Michael L. Parson, Governor of the great state of Missouri, do hereby proclaim August the 10th, 2021, to be the Bicentennial Statehood Day for the state of Missouri. Congratulations, everyone. It is an honor and privilege to be the 57th governor of the great state of Missouri. God bless you, God bless Missouri, and God bless the United States of America. Thank you all very much.
Thank you again for being here. On behalf of the city of Jefferson, it's an honor to have you here in the capital city today on the beautiful Capitol lawn, the most beautiful Capitol in America. And I know during the Bicentennial that our commission, one of our goals was that every county in the state of Missouri participated and had activities, and we're so pleased that every county is doing something for our Bicentennial throughout this year. We ask that every family and every Missourian continue to celebrate the Bicentennial. And it's not over today. We have the Missouri State Fair coming up in Sedalia with the Bicentennial theme. Also, we have the Governor's Bicentennial inauguration in September, so you can come back to Jefferson City for that. We have events going on throughout the year, and you can find that at Missouri2021.org. We hope that you'll follow Missouri 2021 on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And other things going on right here today in the capital city at 1:30, there's a tree dedication for the Bicentennial here on the Capitol lawn. And then what we're all waiting for is the statewide ice cream social in Jefferson City. There's several around the state. There's hundreds around the state. But right here in Jefferson City, one of those will be at Central Dairy at 2 p.m. So that is scoops across Missouri. You can find your favorite place to go have ice cream today and celebrate. So I would like to also invite you back while you're here on the Capitol grounds. If you go around the side of the Capitol, you'll find a newly dedicated Gold Star Families Memorial Monument that was just dedicated on Saturday, and that will lead us to the future Bicentennial Bridge, which will be completed this fall. We are a capital city that was founded because we're on the riverfront, and we will soon have an actual connection to our river from the Capitol. So we will invite you back for all those great things. And come back in 2025 when Jefferson City turns 200. So with that, I'd like to thank you all for being here, and thank you again. Take the spirit of the Bicentennial of our past, our present, and our future with you always. Thank you again.